We would like to know your names and what you do for a living.
Okay, I'm Mrs. Inyejekwe Ijoma Harriet, a town planner and the superintendent of monuments with National Commission for Museums and Monuments.
Okay. First question goes like this. What exactly do you think are the causes of the recurring economic downturn in developing countries of the world, especially in sub-Saharan African countries?
Okay, most developing countries of the world were former colonies to most developed countries. And before the coming of these colonial masters, most of them were self-subsistent. They had their trade, they were involved in agriculture, arts and crafts. But when the colonial masters came, especially after the scramble for Africa, the choice and things they want to do was based on what the colonial masters wanted, especially in their industries in Europe. So the choice of what they'll produce was in line with what was needed by their masters. And what happened was that their educational system was of the Europeans was preferred. There was a new ideology that made the European culture and foreign culture and way of life seem more important and look down on the local indigenous way of life and way of working as archaic. So these developing countries today who had their colonial masters that had developed were looking forward to them, preferring their own produced goods and things and looking down on their own indigenous productions. And this is one of the key reasons why these countries and colonies still remain the way they are till date.
All right. What exactly do you think the economic planners and political leaders need to do in order to resuscitate the unstable economies of many sub-Saharan African countries?
All right, I think they should look at what the Asians did. And I want to be precise with Ikeda Hayato. Ikeda Hayato was the Prime Minister or President of Japan several years ago after the Second World War. He had a plan. His plan, it was just 3 points. One was to increase the export of Japan, to invest on heavy machineries, human capital, and also to increase their savings. And their aim was to increase, to grow their economy in 10 years. But these 3 points made them to reach their goal in less than 10 years. In short, in 7 years, they reached the goal they set for themselves.
All right. The Asian tigers, consisting of Taiwan, South Korea, Singapore, Japan, Hong Kong, and a host of others, they are experiencing high levels of economic growth due to the fact that they are highly industrialized. So Hong Kong and Singapore are among the biggest financial centers worldwide, while Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan are world leaders in the manufacturing of automobile, electronic components, and information technology. And these countries, they are not rich in natural resources like in many African countries here. Do you think that the effective implementation of workable industrialization ideas and concepts in every region of sub-Saharan African countries can help to stabilize their unbalanced economies?
Well, the Asians, one thing they did, one factor was that they invested, there was regional integration, and that was one key factor that helped them to grow as they are today. You see, they made use of their advantage, the resources they have. They were rich in the resources in which what they are producing. What the Africans need to do is to go back to their roots and look at the resources they are reaching and use these resources in production. They should work on their indigenous past, their artifacts, because most of these artifacts, look, they seem to be archaic, but if you really go to the museum, I walk in the museum, I see a lot of indigenous ideas there that is caged and have not been exploited. They can go back to these things and look into it and develop them with what they have and the resources that is in their environment, like what the Asians are doing. And I know that if they can make good use of these resources, they will be able to produce and export their products, and also appreciate what they produce so they themselves can buy what they produce and reduce their spendings in importation.
So, in your own opinion, how best can youth unemployment and underemployment in Nigeria, precisely, and other sub-Saharan African countries be reduced to the barest minimum?
All right, first, there need to be a sensitization. It's a sensitization to the youth to tell them that their indigenous knowledge is superb, that there is something special about them. Because most Africans don't see themselves special and have their ability to produce things like the Europeans and the Asians. But the truth is that this ability is in them as much as it's in the Europeans and the Asians. They need to be sensitized. They need to emancipate their minds that these are the only people that can produce these things. And number two, the government also have their own roles to play. The government need to introduce vocational studies. Vocational studies should be compulsory after secondary schools, at least 2 years. So even if these youths don't get white collar jobs, they can be busy with their hands, be able to make productions, and to be able to be self-employed. The government should now create grants, soft loans, tax rebates for them. In this way, you find out that we will even have less juvenile delinquencies, prostitution, armed robbery, kidnappers, and problems we are having in the society, because the youth who make up these problems in the society are already engaged and they are busy. So this is one of the key things the government have to look into. They also have to work hard on infrastructural development, because they need electricity, there is need for good roads, there is need for water, there is need for security, because I would have gone into agriculture, but right now we know that the herdsmen crisis has threatened so many people out from the farms. So it's not a place right now that youths can go into, except security is guaranteed at this time.
So now, is it appropriate for foreign investors to invest in sustainable potential businesses in countries like South Africa, where xenophobia has gone sky high, or Nigeria, where there is high rate of ethno-religious and socio-political crisis?
Well, the xenophobia has been contained for now in South Africa, but the herdsmen crisis is still a very big problem in Nigeria. But however, there are still states that are still okay, that there is still security that they can invest in, especially states down south that have less security issues. And they also have resources. They have tourist attractions and minerals and so many things apart from petroleum to invest in. You know, everybody's mind, the country, everything is on petroleum. Petroleum is 90% of Nigeria's export. Petroleum, the revenue for the budget, petroleum is 80%, you know. But apart from petroleum, there are other things that investors can invest in apart from petroleum in the south that will even give more revenue than even petroleum. As we know, because of climate change and global warming, most countries are trying to see how they can fizzle out for the use of fossil fuel. So we have to start looking at other things, you know, like green energy that we can use. And this area is blessed with such opportunities. So I think it's a good idea if these places can still be invested, like Nigeria and down south in Nigeria.
Okay, actually, you know, the major problem in African countries today I feel, is ineffective leadership. So, but can you really help us with, can you really tell us the roles you feel the political leaders, as well as the electorates in the independent states of Africa, especially in West African countries, the roles they should play in order to help boost their wavering economies?
All right, some people will think that I'm really going spiritual in this part, but no, but it's a necessity, because one, they have to be very God-fearing, because anybody that is God-fearing will have respect for their subject. And I know that it's lack of fear of God that make most African leaders to be more selfish and look less at the welfare of their subjects. Other things will come to play if they look at their subjects as important to them. One is they will invest in human capital. Investing in human capital means investing in education, both skilled education and the orthodox, the foreign education. If the government can spend more in human capital, there will be a big change. Another thing is that the government should spend more on heavy machines that produce, machines that can produce juice. Our fruits, excess tomatoes and fruits, they are decaying, they throw them away, but machines can bring out the juice, extract the juice, and make these things to be used to be exported, and the masses can buy them. They can also invest in machineries, infrastructure like roads, infrastructure, lights. Lights is very important because it's a very serious problem. That's power. Power is a very serious problem in Nigeria. They really need to invest more in these things. And one thing again is that they need to reduce their spending. Their spending should be at least reduce and increase their savings to 40% and reduce their spending. If they can do this, I believe that in less than 7 years, Nigeria can get to its destination, to one of the fastest growing economies in the world, like China.
Today, there is high rate of rural-urban migration in so many African countries due to unemployment. So what kind of business do you think is suitable to be established in the rural areas, basically for the unemployed rural dwellers?
Yeah, it's very funny that the rural areas are so rich in resources, abundant, lying decayed. Nobody cares, and all the youth are migrating to the city center. There are reasons for that. I must address these reasons first. One, the rural areas, most of these areas don't have lights, they don't have road, and there is no security. Like the herdsmen attack, you don't see them attack the cities. Where they attack at these villages where they don't have maybe police stations. How many police stations do they have in these rural areas? So many of them, even right now, start running into the cities where they believe that there is more security, because security is now a key thing. Security is very important right now. So many people are now running into the urban areas. One, now because of security. Two is infrastructure. They don't have light, there is no road, there is no pipe-borne water. So many of them will want to come here to find these things. Two, there are no industries or factories in this area. So there is no, they find it more difficult farming over there and bringing their goods to the city, where they don't even have good roads to come to the city to start selling. So if they can get little white collar jobs that they can manage their lives, they'll prefer to stay in the city. But what should the government do? It's simple. The government should provide infrastructure in these areas. Provide infrastructure, light. They should provide power. There should be power. There should be road. There should be water. There should be security in this area. Security is prime in these areas right now as we speak. And also, there should be job opportunities. Job opportunities, they have so many. For example, in the south, there are so many, even everywhere in Nigeria have tourist attractions. There are so many tourist attractions that are not being developed. But if these places are developed, people can come, visit these areas, buy their food, buy their arts and crafts, and you see they'll be generating some income, even foreign exchange for the people there. And you see that it happens. The multiply effect comes in if these things are done. So people on their own start moving back to these rural areas because there is security. There is it's more like green settlements because of the presence of trees and greenery. And green settlements are very good for the youth. It makes people live longer than the cities where you inhale carbon monoxide. So I think what the government should do is to invest in infrastructure, security, create more factories and industries in these rural areas to attract this youth to these places.
All right, what do you think the government should do in order to motivate Nigerians to start patronizing our local producers and manufacturers, or better still, shift their attention from purchasing foreign-made goods to locally made goods?
Okay, one, I think our commonly in the Standard Organization of Nigeria, they are actually doing very well, but they still need to do more, because some of the products that they are producing right now, some of them are not even up to standard. That's why people don't like made in Nigerian goods. They should look into these things that are being produced and make sure that it's the ones that are for consumption are good for human consumption and are not dangerous or harmful in any way. And even things that they buy are durable and can last for a long time. But what also the government can do, they should create advertisement, communication. They should communicate to the public and sensitize them on the importance in patronizing made in Nigerian goods. Again, the people, the producers of these things, the government should reduce their taxes. They should be tax rebates. They should provide soft loans for them, you know, and the interest should be very low. They should be able to give them loans at very little interest, as low as 2%. If these things can be done, like I have said before, we are not very far from getting to one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So I believe the government has to do one, advertisement and communication on the importance of buying made in Nigerian goods. The Standard Organization of Nigeria have to work harder in looking into the things that are produced, that they are of standard. And also the government have to look into providing grants, soft loans, tax rebates, and even provision of infrastructure, power for these industries so that they'll be able to produce. I think if the government can be able to do this, we'll get somewhere.
Good. Thank you very much.